Hi everyone, welcome to Morning Matcha. Today I'm here with Jessie De Lowe, the co-founder of How You Glow, who's also an art therapist and yoga instructor. Hi Jessie.
Hi, love.
Well, thanks for coming today.
My absolute pleasure. I'm so happy to be here.
Oh, you're so sweet. Thanks for, by the way, texting me the other day. That was so nice of you.
Oh my God, of
when
course.
you found out, it felt so special to know that you were thinking of me and something that you had just gone through with being pregnant and having Amelie. And
well, I'm so happy for you. And I remember when we were talking, we were hiking, and you were saying how you were so excited, like you wanted a family and you wanted to start putting feelers out and start trying. So
and then
it happened quick.
Yeah.
It happened quick.
Totally.
And it's honestly the biggest blessing and most incredible journey. And yeah, it's interesting actually, because I feel like I used to hear of people getting pregnant or whatever, and I'd be like, oh, cool, you know. But now when I hear someone gets pregnant, I'm honestly like so deeply like happy for someone. And also when I was pregnant and when I had Amelie, like all the people who reached out to me, it really meant something. And I think that you really appreciate it when you're going through such like a transitional time.
Yeah.
And for women to reach out to you and be like, I'm here for you. And so many people did that for me. They're like, I know it's a really like weird time, because there are a lot of like, as amazing as it is, it's also very isolating in a way, that beginning piece when you're not sharing it with people.
Totally.
Did you feel that way, like in the beginning?
I just am really bad at keeping secrets.
Oh, so you didn't keep it a secret?
No, we did for a little bit, but it was really hard. But it's nice to have that period. But totally, like it feels a little I'm normally so open with everyone, and that's how I connect. And to have that little secret is weird.
Yeah, it's like very sacred in a way. Like there's a part of it that's so special. But like for me, I wasn't feeling good, and it wasn't like I had this like awesome feeling that I wasn't sharing. I had this like shitty feeling that I wasn't sharing, and I was just like, it was hard to like operate, you know, in the world, not sharing this and feeling so bad.
Totally. Did you wait until 3 months?
Yeah. So actually the first day that I found out, I called my mom. I like so carefree. Like I was so carefree. I called my whole family and told them we were pregnant, even though like I hardly believed in myself. But because it was a surprise, we weren't planning it. And I found out when I was like 6 weeks pregnant or something. And then I told friends and, you know, everyone else around like 3 months. Is that when people tell people?
Yeah.
Around
average.
then.
Yeah.
I did whatever like people say
to do.
But you know, in retrospect, I would have probably told my friends sooner. Like I don't see the point in waiting. God forbid something happens. Like you need your friends, you need your support. So I think that like that idea of waiting and being so protective over the information, like if someone you love and you care about, you know,
goes through a hard time like that,
you want to be there for them. So the second time around, I definitely wouldn't wait like I did.
Yeah, I was reading, there's a lot of different views on that.
Yeah.
And I was reading about that.
Well, it's just a matter of like if you want support around that or you don't, you know?
Yeah.
So, and it's so common to go through, you know, miscarriage, especially early on.
Yeah. That's why people keep it to themselves.
Yeah, exactly.
So tell me a little bit about, like, obviously you're co-founder of How You Glow, and you've done such amazing, I mean, on our hike, we had such a great chat, and I really learned so much about you. You're an art therapist, yoga instructor. I mean, you've done so many amazing things, and I just want to hear kind of about, like, back when you were younger, how you grew up on the East Coast, and kind of that transition and what sparked your interest in wellness.
Yeah, so I grew up in New York in the suburbs in a place called Westchester. Have you heard of it? Yeah, so it's like 30 minutes from New York City, where I grew up, in a town called Larchmont. And I had a really lovely childhood there. But, you know, I never had even heard, like I'd never gone hiking really. Like it wasn't, I'd go for nature walks and we'd be, you know, in nature, we live by the water, I never tried yoga. Like I'd never done any of these things that are so, you know, mainstream and common now. And what really sparked my love for wellness is when I went to Boulder, Colorado for school. And it's just like that town is just like buzzing with everything,
Yeah.
like yoga and hiking and, just like an elevated lifestyle there.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's, pretty extreme as well, but I think that's what really initially drew me in to all of that stuff. And, growing up, my mom was really into spirituality. She was reading a million books about manifesting and law of attraction. And so our bookshelves were like literally like filled
Oh my
with all of this
gosh.
type of stuff. So my sister and I read a lot of these books. And so both my sister and I have a brother too. He was not interested.
Mm-hmm.
He was interested in basketball and things like that. But we both read everything that my mom had. We would just read them. And it was so that side of things, like the spiritual side, was there from a very young age. And a love of creativity, of art making, of, health was there. But just I hadn't really been exposed to something to take it to the next level
Mm-hmm.
until college. From there, I decided I wanted to be a yoga teacher, and I also wanted to be an art therapist. And so I got certified in both of those things. I went to New York.
That's such
Yeah.
a specific thing, art therapy.
Yeah.
Was that a program that they offered?
Yeah. So basically, art therapy, every person who I tell I'm an art therapist, most people still have no idea what it is. So it's really interesting that it's still such like a niche field, but it's
Yeah.
such an important field in my opinion. And what brought me to that was I was studying art. I've always really been, I don't find myself to be, an art for like the purpose of ever like selling the art or doing anything with the art. I'm all about process. So for me, it's the process of making something is so healing and so therapeutic and so fun and worthwhile. And whatever the product is, I don't care. And that's
Mm-hmm.
always been how it is for me. And so I decided to study art, even though I don't find myself to be particularly, I don't want to say that I'm not talented, but because that would undermine my belief in everyone being an artist.
Yeah.
But, I just don't think it has to look one certain way to be,
Mm-hmm.
to be an artist. But so I studied art in school, and I also studied psychology because I'm so interested in the mind and, getting a deeper look into myself and into other people. And so I had these two interests, and I saw them to be so separate. And so, like, how do you put these two things together?
Yeah.
But then in my art classes, I noticed that. Have you ever been in an art class?
No.
So at the end of every project that you do, you'll get like an assignment, and then you come together and you do a critique. So everyone puts the art up and you all sit together and everyone explains their artwork and gets feedback from everyone else. People will share what it brings up for them, what it reminds them of. And this experience would be like such an emotional, such a sacred and intimate experience of people sharing things that I knew for a fact that they hadn't told like their best friend,
Yeah.
and they'd cry and it'd be like this really, really amazing experience of people
Aw.
opening up and using their artwork as a metaphor or a catalyst for this really intimate conversation. And I was like, wow, this is the most therapeutic thing that's going on in my life right now.
Yeah.
And so not joking, I literally Googled like art psychology and then came up and like career as I was nearing the end of college. And it came up, art therapy as a field. And there was a couple schools offering it, one of which was in
Wow.
Boulder. And then there was a few in New York and like a couple specialty ones. And I applied to NYU. It was the only one I applied to. And I was like, if I get in, it's meant to be. And if not, I'll get certified as a yoga teacher and I'll take that path. And so I ended up getting in, and that
Oh
was
my
it. And so
gosh.
I when I graduated, I moved to Kripalu,
Yeah.
that place,
Yeah.
in the Berkshires for a month
Oh, for your yoga teacher
for my
training?
yoga teacher training. And then right when I finished up, started the art therapy. So it was a really nice transition. Yeah.
Wow. And then how long was the program at NYU?
So it was a 2 years master's program. Yeah.
Wow.
And it was really cool because it's a very clinical program. Like every program has a different approach. So some are more like really like studio based in art and you're doing like a lot of art. This one was really based in experience in the field. So from day one, you're working with clients And I found it to be really amazing to have the yoga background because yoga training, have you ever done one? So therapeutic as well. Like you're basically trained as a therapist, I find, especially this one. It was like very deep and like getting to know yourself really well. And so that allowed me to like be very confident in the work that I was doing. I mean, I didn't really know what I was doing, but I had at least this like deeper understanding of myself. And it also allowed me to like be paid as an intern because I was a yoga teacher and art therapist, which was amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you have patients that were suicidal, or like what were they like? And did you ever feel that you weren't really qualified to be there? I mean, because you really, like you were saying, you really have to have an in-depth understanding of yourself and really trust yourself.
Trust yourself. It's so true. Yeah. So I've worked with people like up until I had Amelie. I've been working in like high risk treatment centers since that day, since the first day of college. So I've been doing it for a while. There's definitely moments where it's very intense and you have to really be like, slow down what you're doing to sort of see what the best approach would be. But usually it's with a team of people. So you're on a team and there's a clinical team. So if something goes down and you're worried about someone, like you alert the team and it's a team effort.
Like everyone's kind of working with that person in a different capacity.
And so it's like everyone is coming from a different angle. So the art angle is a very specific one. And usually it's a more like nurturing one and not like so direct. It makes people feel at ease and a little bit safer to open up. Usually, and that's not always the case, but I found that it's like a really approachable method of therapy. And because people can use the metaphor of art so they can take their time rather than like such direct talking where it can be like a little bit scary, so it's, but there's definitely been like so many crazy situations, like crazy situations. And I also worked, I volunteered like I think it was in between my junior and senior year of college. I worked in the psych ward at Lenox Hill Hospital in New York. And that was really interesting. That was really, really interesting. And some of like the coolest moments of like my art therapy career. And that was like before I was even an art therapist.
Wow.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen Empire?
No.
The show? Well, one of the sons in the show has it's art therapy, but it's music therapy.
Oh yeah, it's amazing.
Because he is bipolar, and I love when he would have sessions with her. I would like just be so interested in it because it's music and art are so healing.
Yeah, and music therapy is amazing. I wish I had more musical skill, to be honest, because I feel like music therapy is so healing. I mean, literally you just put on a song and how like transformed your whole day could be from just like hearing one song, for better or for worse sometimes, but to be able to actually like engage with the materials and whether it's art or music. And it's very, very, humbling to be in that position of helping someone just reveal themselves to themselves, and be the witness for that and to share something that's difficult to share. So it's really, it's cool. So in LA, I've been working at treatment centers. So it's sober living houses and, centers that oftentimes it's addiction, but with addiction, there's all these co-occurring disorders, so depression, anxiety, really you name it, eating disorders, bipolar disorder, all those things. And I've taken a little break, like I said, and in that time I've started to do manifesting sessions with people. Yeah. And it's interesting because the manifesting sessions I've been doing on the phone, and it was really in the beginning, I was like, how can I best use what I have to offer? I don't want to be going to the treatment centers all the time right now. And so I also, teach yoga and only one-on-one clients usually, or workshop based. And the yoga is mixed with the art therapy.
I love that.
The yoga, because I found that a lot of people are like, I'm not an artist. Like, no way. I'm not going to like, what if I make something and it's like ugly or like, I feel like a kid, I don't know how to do anything. And yoga is such an amazing precursor to the art making because it just, excuse me, allows your senses to open up, and it allows your inhibitions to soften and puts you into more of a dreamlike state. And I do a guided meditation and aromatherapy and all these things to let you arrive at a place where you're just not judging what you're doing.
Yeah.
And focusing on the process and enjoying the process rather than being self-conscious and being held back. And I feel like that's when you're in the flow of your life in general, is when you can take away like, oh my gosh, am I going to fail? Am I going to mess up? Am I going to not do this right? And just be with what is and enjoy the process. It's like such a metaphor, you know? Like if you can just enjoy the process and forget about what it's going to look like, how it's going to turn out, you know, then you reap the benefits and you actually enjoy
the present moment. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
So have you done any workshops lately?
I've done a lot of like one-on-one sessions doing the yoga and the art. I've done workshops doing it. I used to do it at Love Yoga.
Yeah.
I did a retreat in Bali where it was
Fun.
yoga and art therapy, which was amazing, which was actually something that I always wanted to do and put on a list and one of my manifesting lists, and it occurred. And I was like, wow, that's a big one. Because I'd never led any yoga retreat before. And for it to be in Bali for the first one.
So much work to put that together.
It wasn't. It just happened like so easily and so organically. And I was just like, wow, that's pretty cool. Like, you know, what you asked for will come, you know? And so what I was saying was when I had Amelie and I was wanting to be more at home for a little while and really appreciative of just where my life had taken me, like all these unexpected twists and turns that had landed me in a really, really beautiful situation that I'm really grateful for. And I was thinking how to help other people achieve whatever it is their heart desires and their goals are for themselves. And so I just literally was taking a walk on the beach with Amelie, and I was feeling just like, you know, when you're just feeling like just so incredibly grateful in a moment, and you're just like, everything is sparkling and you're just so happy, and things just come to you. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to do manifesting sessions with people. I'm going to help people to create the life of their dreams. I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I'm going to do it. I literally went home and I texted Brian, my husband, and I said, what do you think of this? And he didn't respond because he's at work. And before he could get home from work, I had something like posted on Instagram, like that I'm offering. He's like, wow. He's like, good for you. Like just going for it. And I was like, you know what? I have a strong feeling that I'd be really good at this. Like people have always told me that I'm really good at manifesting. And I've proven to myself time and time again that I'm able to create a goal or an intention and bring it to fruition. And I was wondering why, like, why am I able to do that, you know, and why does it come more easily to some people than it does for other people? And so that's been the study, and that's been the really interesting thing for me, to be able to coach people and shift people's thinking and help them to unravel whatever it is that's holding them back. Because we really do all have the potential. It's just some people have some undoing to do before they can, you know, let things flow and be in that flow.
Yeah. Well, especially with your experience working with people already through yoga and the psychology and everything. And then also, like you're saying, when you're in alignment with with yourself and in the flow of the universe, that's when it comes to you. But I remember reading this one book, and the analogy was, I think it was like one of the Esther Hicks books. And it's like, it's not that, it's like, just turn on the light.
Yeah.
Like the light is there. You're just like letting it turn dark.
Exactly. It's like, take away the blinds, you know, like unshield yourself because it's already there. Yeah. Which is such a cool concept. It's really like trippy to think about that.
I know.
But I think about that too, about the thing that you said about being in alignment with who you are. Because I think a lot of the blocks that people have, and what I've found, I'm learning as I go. You know, each session that I have, I'm kind of like making parallels between everyone. And there are so many parallels. And that's the coolest thing, because I talk to people from all over. I'm like, wow, this person's dealing with the exact same thing as this other person across the country, you know, in different random towns. You know, it's really cool. But I think that sometimes people have these goals for themselves or these intentions for themselves that doesn't actually match their soul's calling, but it's to please other people. So it's like, and they don't even realize it. It's to please their mom, to please their dad, to please their partner. This like outside version of what they are supposed to be and like what they think will look really amazing and make them seem super successful.
Yeah.
And they've ignored, because they've had to ignore like what they actually want to fit in the box of where they are in their life. So it's like taking a step back and reassessing, why am I working towards this? Why am I unhappy? And then renegotiating your own terms and saying like, I have a choice with the life that I want to create, and I don't have to have the life that my mom wants me to have. And I think people are stuck on that like way later in life than you would expect, you know?
Well, I think that you were sharing with me a little bit about your story with what brought you out to LA.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then like how it turned into meeting Brian.
Oh my God,
and I
yeah.
think that's really nice because you have the experience of like following something, but it didn't turn out right away to be exactly what you were thinking. But
Exactly.
do you want to share a little bit
Yeah.
about
So when I was living in New York, I was really happy. Like I said, I was in grad school. I hadn't lived in the city in Manhattan before. You know, I came from Boulder and lived there, and I was really like enjoying it. My life was really fun. I had a boyfriend at the time. You know, I just saw myself like, you know, living in New York for a while. It seemed like a great place to live, and I had a great community, my family, everything. And then one day, the guy I was dating, he was really like worked up, and he was like, I have this job offer in LA, and like regardless, like I'm gonna take it. And he was like very, very worked up because he really wanted me to come with him, and he made that very clear. But he also made it very clear that like if I didn't come, he was still gonna go. So it was this very big fork in the road for me, and I was just finishing up grad school. I didn't have an apartment. I had this crazy situation. Oh my God, it's a whole other story with the roommate that I had was like in a cult, and then all this crazy stuff happened, and then I had to move.
Oh my gosh.
And it was so wild. So I basically had no apartment. Like I was like subletting a friend's apartment. I had no ties. Nothing was holding me back. I just finished, you know, everything that I had going on had just wrapped up. And so I had this moment, I was like, I thought LA was going to be the worst. I thought it was going to be the most superficial place. Like I just thought of Hollywood and thought of like the antithesis of everything that I stand for.
Yeah.
I'd never really like experienced the LA that I know now. And, I remember, so I wrote about this for you, or I think I told you guys that I had a session with my mom. So my mom had just become a life coach, and she just had started, and she's just sort of like, you know, testing it out on me a little bit. And she was like, can I do a session with you and see? And my mom, you know, my mom would do anything for me to stay in New York.
Yeah.
Like she lives for her kids. She just wants her family around her. But she was like, I'm going to do like a totally unbiased session with you, and I want you to follow your heart and like what's really going to be right for you. So she did this whole session that, you know, there was a graph, all the different areas of my life. And she asked me, and I told her in the session, I was like, I see myself being happiest in a creative atmosphere, in nature. You know, I see a beach. I see like being madly in love. I see, you know, like teaching yoga on the beach, and like, you know, just having like beautiful food and healthy things all around me, being vibrant, and like painting this picture in my mind. And, you know, everything pointed to like, you got to move to LA. Like everything that you want is way more likely to be found there than it is here. Like as sad as it makes me, she was like, you really should go. And so I went, and I moved to West Hollywood, and I lived with the ex-boyfriend who was my boyfriend at the time for a while. And I loved LA. I started How You Glow with Tara, and it was just, everything was flowing. I really loved it, like loved. And
how did you build that community when you came here?
well, I was so lucky because the ex-boyfriend was from LA. And so he had tons of friends, and he was, you know, was such a great guy. He introduced me to everyone, and it was really easy for me to meet people. So I got really lucky in that sense, because I think if you move to LA from a different city, it can be a challenging place, you know. But I actually loved it. And
you started How You Glow.
You know. I really was enjoying myself. And then a few years later, when, you know, everything I thought was perfect, you know, out of the blue, at the moment it felt out of the blue, the boyfriend broke up with me, and like really, really was hard. You know, it was like,
Wow.
wow, like I didn't see this coming. Like my world kind of flipped upside down. And, you know, it was another crossroads. Like, do I move? Like, what should I do? You know? And it was very clear to me in that moment that LA had become home, you know? And so I stayed and I got a new apartment. And like, what also was revealed to me was that like how much I loved LA, and my happiness was so much coming from me and not from the relationship.
Yeah.
You know, it was really interesting when once that was gone, after the initial awful, terrible heartbreak, you know, I was really happy again. And like I was in my flow and like traveling and like living this experience that I hadn't really gotten of LA.
Yeah.
And then I met Brian. I met Brian 7 months later, and it was just, it's so cheesy, but like coming home, you know, it was like, this is my person. And I would have never, ever, ever, ever expected to meet someone. Like I was like, oh, I'm never getting married. Like does true love doesn't exist.
Yeah.
Like, you know, all these things. Like I was just like, this is like, it's too crazy out there. Like what just happened was too much, you know? And I just trusted though that I'd be okay no matter what, you know, like I was totally content on my own. And I think I remember I took a trip to Nicaragua. Have you ever been to Madeiras Village?
No.
Oh, it's so much fun. It's great.
I've heard amazing things
really
about
fun.
it. Yeah.
But I remember, so Tara and I went there for like a week, and it was one of my many like crazy adventures during this single time. But I remember like there was one night we were all, you know, talking under the stars really late and talking about like our true, like what we truly wanted, which you so rarely like open up about like what you truly want. And I remember saying like out loud, I was like, I'd like to meet my soulmate, you know, like kind of admitting to myself, like I actually do believe in that. And I actually do want that, even though it's like scary.
Yeah. And you were like wanting to protect yourself by thinking that it's
exactly.
not. Yeah.
And then I think I got home from that trip and literally like met him.
That's
And
so crazy.
yeah, it's really crazy.
And then you, like how long after that did you get pregnant with Amelie?
So Brian and I met on a dating app called Raya. Have you heard of it?
Yeah. Because someone that I work with wants to be on it.
Because you probably surpassed that with your relationship. But so this dating app called Raya, it was in beta mode. So there's only like 20 people on it. And I knew someone who started it, and he was like, hey, you're single. I was out one night with like the founder and like the founder's roommate and a few girlfriends, and everyone at the table was single. So everyone joined in. And I really think we were all the first people on it. So it's just like literally.
It's like Tinder style, but like way better because it's like cool people. It's for creatives.
It's like the Soho House of dating apps. But it was hilarious because it was just these people like that I knew at this table that were on it. But slowly, like every day, like a few more would trickle on. But it was still beta. Like it was kind of like dodgy. It didn't really work. You didn't have to pay for any of that. And how it worked is it's a montage connected to a song. So you choose a song, and then there's lots of photos that you connect to it, and you're watching like a video of someone
to the song that they pick.
Exactly.
That's so cute.
Yeah, it's actually it's fun. And I remember seeing Brian, and I remember exactly where I was. I think I was in my parents' house, and I was with my sister, and I was like, this guy is so cute. Like, who is this guy? And it was literally like him eating guacamole, chocolate chip cookies. It was him with his mom, all these things. And
they're like little Snapchat videos.
No, it's just like a photo montage.
Oh my gosh.
And and then, you know, we matched, whatever. And then, so we went on our first date, you know, a few weeks later. And then, I'm not kidding, after our first date, his mom told me that he called her and said he met his wife.
Oh my gosh.
And after our second date, I called my mom and said I met my husband.
Whoa.
And actually, our second date was at Temescal, the hike that we went on together. And and then we moved in together fairly quickly, even though I was like scared to do so because I'd been like, you know, so we actually pumped the brakes a little bit, but we still moved really quicker than most people. Yeah. And then he proposed after 11 months of the first day that we met. And then we got married 6 months later, and then we got pregnant on our honeymoon.
Oh
So
my
it all
gosh.
just like rolled out. And yeah, it's such a trip because we just celebrated our 1-year wedding anniversary in October, and Amelie was only a couple months old.
Aw.
So crazy.
Yeah. So you like that experience makes you want to help other people with the whole manifestation session
Yeah, because I'll
right?
say, like, I think that, so when that experience happened to me with the breakup, I could have done two things. I could have either like really like isolated and been like, oh, I don't want to date anyone, like, been bitter or like bitter towards my ex. And instead it was the opposite. I really had a deep respect for my ex for breaking up with me, because he could have just like, if it wasn't working, he could have just kept it going, right?
Mm-hmm.
But he freed me and he freed himself, which is really like a noble thing to do.
Yeah.
So after the initial, like dealing with it, I'd say it was just like a few weeks of like really like not being able to like, move forward. But after, accepting it, I didn't resist. I let it happen, and I let things open up, and the world opened up to me in like the most incredible way. And I think any big major thing that comes into someone's life is someone's biggest opportunity and biggest teacher. So even the most painful thing, the most seemingly like terrible thing, is the thing that's going to like open you up, and you can either resist it and push it away and close up, or you can open to it and like be grateful for it. Even as horrible as it seems, be grateful for it, and the world opens up. And it's in these moments of like complete like lack of control that the world like is your oyster, and it's when you feel the most alive as well. And it's like those really charged times where we can miss out on such an opportunity if we're like so closed off, or we're staying in the past. So I think that I actually am really proud of myself, how I handled that situation. And I think because of it, I was rewarded like tenfold with like just abundance in every aspect of my life, in like what I view as my soul's, highest intention. And I think that people with a little bit of guidance, because it's not easy. It's not easy to not resist like a hard thing, something that's changing you and setting you in a different direction.
Yeah. I just kept thinking of Amelie too, and how special it is to raise a woman
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
and share that with a girl that's
Yeah.
gonna turn into a lovely woman.
I
and
know, it's crazy.
hopefully get them out of all the self-doubt and stuff that we
Right.
go through.
Because you know what I've learned, like the one common thing I've learned from talking to all these different people is, and I know this isn't, rocket science, and I know this is, a lot of people already know this, but a feeling of not being worthy is really the basis for any block. If it boils down to it, and it's based in like, in this fear-based energy. It like, even goes like to Marianne Williamson. I'm sure you've, read some of her stuff. It's either love or fear, and that's what we're operating from. And it's such a brilliant concept because it is so simple like that. It's like the frequency of fear, which is all of those emotions like guilt, or which is a lot of people, what's blocking them is guilt. Like, I don't deserve more. I don't deserve to like thrive at my highest. Like, I already have so much. Like lack of confidence, insecurity, all these like low vibration, fear-based energy blocks, things from opening up and blossoming and being their most fruitful. Whereas the love energy, like just abundance and openness and freedom and spaciousness, all these things that's just like opening and allowing things to flow. And so if you're ever blocked and you're like, what am I closing up rather than opening? And it's honestly interesting if you think about getting pregnant, right? It's like, you have to be open to get pregnant. You have to be receptive. You have to be like blossoming and in that love energy. Because when you're closed off, I mean, obviously there's exceptions, but most of the time it's like, if you're afraid of not getting all these things, it can really inhibit.
Totally. Yeah. Do you do any feng shui, or are you into it
I'm
at
a
all?
big believer in that, to be honest. I mean, our home right now is kind of ridiculous because Amelie has taken over in the best way. I mean, it's just, we live in like a really funky little beach house that we love, and we're so obsessed with it. But it's just funny to see it transition with a baby, you know?
I want to hear all about that.
Yeah,
what does
it is
it look
actually,
like?
well, so it's funny because we sleep up in a loft, Brian and I, which is like a ladder that goes up to this, second story. And we've done that, always, even until the day I had Amelie. So I'm like 9 months pregnant.
Going up
this ladder, and everyone, my mom was like, "You better not be sleeping in that loft still." And I was like, "Don't worry, I'm not." Like I as I'm like climbing up and down, like, and when I had a C-section, so I had to stay. So I think the best advice I could give you about a nursery is, if you have the space for it, have a bed in the nursery. I don't know if you do.
Like a regular bed.
Like a real
so
bed.
You could sleep there. Yeah.
It's like such a game changer. Also just for nursing, if you plan on nursing. I know everyone says to get a chair, but then you can't like Brian's also in the bed, and it's just like, it's like this family bed, but it's Amelie's room. So she's always been used to sleeping in her room, and it's Amelie's room. And now we have like our room, and there's Amelie's room. And even we still lay in the bed down there all together. It's really nice. So I really suggest that. But so our house is really funky, just in that sense that like there's the ladder, and that's really it. I mean, it's pretty great. But it's just covered in Amelie's, like, just all
toys.
All her stuff. We just got these amazing mats because we realized we haven't really put her on the ground very much because it's a wooden floor, and we're like, we don't want her to hurt herself. So we just got these really amazing mats. They're by this company called Cream House, and they're fluffy. They're like big, thick mats, and they're Velcro, so you can piece them together in all these different shapes. And the second we put her down, she starts like crawling and rolling over. We're like, we've been like inhibiting our child from doing stuff. So that's another thing I'll say is like, get them a space on the ground to move around. And
I met this other family that the mom was like, I don't care what my house looks like. I just want it to be safe. And she has like, it's like puzzle pieces almost on the ground, like the mat.
That's those things. Yeah. They're I'm like sure those colors. Yeah. So we have these like pastel pink ones. They're really cute. They're really, really cute.
And it just makes it safe.
It makes it safe. Yeah, exactly.
You trust them.
Yeah. And then of course we have like some Fisher Price, like very hideous, neon stuff that I'm like, it's not my favorite, but anything that makes her smile and anything that makes her like light up, it's like, of course it can come into the house, so we're just sort of like more plastic. Okay. Like, it's not the best, but
it's what things are made of right now.
Exactly. Yeah, it's interesting. Like the Fisher Price stuff, there's a reason that they're in business. Like, like the stuff is actually really stimulating to the babies. They love it.
That's cool. What else do you think is like super stimulating?
You really don't need much. Hands are amazing. Like they love your hands. Like if I do Itsy Bitsy Spider to her, she's obsessed. Like anytime she's crying, if I'm like Itsy Bitsy, she's just like, whoa, like that's so crazy. This little shaker that I have that I got as a gift, and actually a couple people gave it to me as gifts. So I have a bunch of, I probably have it, I'm not joking, in my bag right now. And it's like, I don't leave home without it. It's this little maraca, African maraca. And the second she hears it again, she's just like calm. So anything that distracts them. And
have you flown with her yet?
Many times.
Like, how old was she when you first flew with her?
Well, we went to San Francisco.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, no, we drove that time. We did a big road trip with her that time. And then we went to Austin, Texas, was her first flight, which was pretty quick. And then New York, which was longer. And then we just went to Mexico, which was also quick.
Cool.
The quick flights are much better than the long flights. And traveling with a baby is very different. I'm still just getting used to it, but I'd always rather have her with me than not.
Yeah.
So even if it's more difficult, like it's just, it's better all around. Cause I think that I'm honestly not ready to like not be near her yet.
Yeah, totally. Did you like strap her to yourself?
Yeah.
Like, how was the 4th trimester?
It's so interesting to reflect back on it because it feels like it was just like yesterday, but it's also like a long time ago now. And it's funny because when I was going through it, it felt very easy. But as I think back to it, I realized it was really hard. And it's,
I mean, you were healing.
yeah.
Right. And then,
yeah, it was really intense. And there was a lot of things going on with my body, like that I didn't know would go on. Yeah. So with the C-section, you're healing, like you can barely walk for the first little while, which is intense in itself.
I saw like some post on Surya Spa.
Oh, yes.
Like sending food. And I was like, that is the goal.
Surya Spa, they have this service called Surya Mother Baby. And so Marta, who is Surya Spa, she came with her mom and they did a forehanded massage.
Oh my
And I was like, what about
gosh.
Amelie? Like, what if she cries? Because at that point she was still like needing to eat all the time. They're like, oh, we've got it. Like if she cries, like we'll take care of her. Like you don't have to worry about anything, which was the best thing in the whole world. Because at that point I didn't have a babysitter or anything. I'd never had anyone help me yet. They did this amazing massage. And it's really interesting because I don't know if you know, but you bleed after you have a baby. Yeah. So that
like during birth or
no,
you mean?
afterwards, like you bleed afterwards. So that's part of it that no one really tells you, but,
Yeah.
and some people more than others, you know, and I,
For like
for
weeks?
like, it depends. Every person's
Oh
different.
my gosh.
And, I didn't realize that would happen even if you have a C-section. Like when my doctor told me that, I was like, wow, like I'd never thought about that or heard that. Yeah. So you bleed afterwards, almost like a period, but it's just the fluid that's coming out and getting out of you. But I think vaginal birth, a lot of it comes out like during the birth. And I think C-section, that it doesn't have that opportunity. So it comes out like a little bit more slowly or something like that. Anyways, some people have more than others. I actually didn't have that much bleeding, but I noticed that with Surya, with her massage, it like released a lot of it that was stuck, and it was so incredible. Like it was really, I think, a treatment that everyone should have. I don't know whether people have access to like some sort of Ayurvedic massage during.
Yeah.
It should be something that people do, because if you think about it, what if that doesn't come out? Like I was thinking, like if I hadn't had this massage, like what, you know,
That wouldn't,
you know, it was really crazy. And then there was another amazing friend of mine named Desiree who now has a baby, but her business is called Mama Seuss, and she came over too and gave me a massage. And
that's her business?
Mama Seuss, yeah. She's
How
amazing.
nice.
And actually she was pregnant when she came.
Oh.
And I was like, I feel guilty that you're like giving me a massage. You're pregnant. I was like, shouldn't I give you a massage? And she's like, oh, please. Like, she's like, I'm doing like 3 massages a day. Like I've got this. She's awesome. But
that's cool. Is it like on like an app thing, or you like give them a call?
No, she just has her own business.
That's nice.
Yeah, but she's really wonderful, and I don't know if she's back up and working yet, because she just did have a baby. But yeah, so I think looking back on it, also like the breastfeeding.
Yeah, I want to hear about the food thing.
So breastfeeding is a full-time job if you are breastfeeding, and once you have the baby, it's like, then there's some days where honestly you just like don't feel like you did anything else but breastfeed like the entire day, and you go a little insane, and you're just like,
what did you do today? Breastfeed.
Literally, because there'll be days when they go through these like growth spurts where they just cluster feed and they just want to feed all day long, and you're just like, I can't do it anymore. You're just like, so, and you wish you could just hand them off, but you're the only person who can do it, so it's all on you. So it's a lot. But it's interesting because at the time, it's just like you're so amazed by this person that like even like the hardest thing, you don't even care. It's the craziest, you know, you're just, or everyone's experience is different. So I'll just speak for myself that it felt manageable. Like even the most difficult things felt manageable. But when I think back on it now, I'm like, holy shit, that was hard. You know, that was intense. And there's also hormones in play that make you able to do it. And that was a huge shock for me. And again, every single person's different, so I don't know what anyone else's experience is like. But for me, the hormones made me like able to, you know, wake up anytime in the night. I was just like very alert, very energetic, like very ready. And I had this surge of just like maternal instincts that comes on that I'm the person who like wants to stay in bed late. I just like want to relax, you know, and it's like, how am I going to have a baby? How am I going to like be, you know, there all the time? And it just happens. Like it's beyond me. It's
the
just
human
like
body
it's
is
so incredible. But I will say that like almost 7 months in, like that's sort of
dying down. And
like,
you're like,
I'm tired.
I need a hit.
Yeah, I'm just like, I'm exhausted. Like last night she didn't sleep that well because she's going through, there's these things called leaps, that these developmental leaps where literally their brain just sort of like everything explodes and then comes back together because they're like learning a new thing. And so their whole, mind is just like expanding and then has to like come back together and integrate. So in that time, they don't sleep as well. And last night was one of those nights. And so luckily Brian's so amazing and he totally like shares the responsibility with me. But I feel like sometimes he picks up more of the slack because like I'm just like a little bit like more exhausted than he is.
Yeah.
But in the beginning, I was like really holding it down. So it's nice that like
to have both.
Yeah. And you go through ebbs and flows, like, and the other person has to hold it down for you. Mm-hmm. And I will say that I think that's a huge part of enjoying being a parent is having a partner that is help.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that understands that it's like it's a family affair, because I think a lot of the time the mom ends up with like
most of the work,
waking up in the night and the dad's like, you got this, and I think that would be way too hard.
Should be illegal.
I know, it's just way too hard.
Have you heard of the snoo?
Yeah, we have one.
How does it work? Because my Laurel has one and she
swears by it.
Yeah.
I know. So the snoo, honestly, Amelie hated it.
Oh my gosh.
I wish I could say that she liked it, but I think, we still have it because it's very beautiful.
Yeah.
And we use it as a stand for her bassinet.
That's cool.
So once we realized she really hated it, I felt bad putting her in it. It looked like she was like in a straitjacket and she would just
I know, it like freaks me out when I see it.
And she would just like cry and I'd be like, if she can just stop crying, I'd give it like a couple minutes. Maybe this is like the, storm before the calm, but she just really despised it. So I ended up just using it for her bassinet. So she would sleep in there and it made like a very beautiful, very chic bassinet holder.
Totally, yeah. Because it's supposed to help you sleep through the night unless they really need something, right? Like,
I don't see how it's possible though. Like, I don't really I know that Laurel used it for a while. And so did Claire, her friend Claire.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. She hated it. And also I found that if you're going to travel with them, like you want them to be like, not dependent on these things like that, like especially like a bulky thing that you can't bring. So less is really more. And I realized that that's something that I'll implement with our next child is that like we did all these things, like we would swaddle her, and swaddling's really, really great in the beginning. But someone told me like, don't like at 3 months, like take the swaddle off. I'm like, no, she won't be able to sleep. Trust me. She needs her swaddle. Like, I'm like, let me try it. Took it off and she slept better than ever. That's when she really started sleeping through the night because she could make herself comfortable. She could like move around and, I think that we think that they need this certain thing, but we don't give them credit for like being adaptable. And like, also it's like we rock them to sleep and like you can just put them in their crib and they might cry for like 2 minutes and then they'll fall asleep. Mm-hmm. It's that initial like letting go.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Like letting them cry it out and figure it out too.
Right. And like, just them, exploring, they need to explore different ways of doing something. If you're always like attached the same way, it really holds them back, I think.
Mm-hmm. That actually reminds me of, I recently interviewed this fertility specialist, acupuncturist, mm-hmm. who is based in New York. Mm-hmm. She's opening up a practice here. Her name's Dr. Julie Vaughn. Mm-hmm. But I was telling her, and this like actually goes into birth control and mm-hmm. all sorts of things. Mm-hmm. And I believe that women should have access to birth control and it should be their decision. But I also have this part of me that is really against like the birth control pill. Uh-huh. Like I was on it, but it really like messed me up and it's like fake hormones and all these things. But then at the same time, if I like had a daughter, mm-hmm. I want her to be safe and I don't want her to. And she said something and it really struck me because I was like, well, what if they're not, because if you're not, like, I track my cycle, mm-hmm. but if you're not regular, or what if you're like 12 years old and you're not gonna, and she's like, it's true and everyone's different, but like we're really doing our kids a disservice by not trusting them with their own. And I was just like, I love that perspective because it kind of goes into what you're saying too, we're saying swaddle the kid or swaddle the baby. Obviously, it's a really important thing to do, but if you do it forever.
Yeah, exactly. If you get so tied up in like controlling the environment
and the fear that they're going to like pass away because they slept on the wrong spot.
Right. You know, letting go, that initial is so scary. I remember when we first put her in her crib and she didn't have the swaddle and she was like rolling onto her belly. I would literally like just watch her. I'd be like, I couldn't sleep. I was just like, and I had anxiety around it, but so like you're going to have anxiety for the first bit and just, you know, slowly over time, you see that they're fine and they're learning. And yeah, that's probably going to be the craziest part about being a parent is that letting go. And I think about that a lot because I was brought up in a house where kind of like anything went, like we didn't have a lot of rules. And, you know, I dodged a lot of bullets, luckily, because I think I'm very like, I have a good head on my shoulders. Like I know I come from a good family. I don't want to like, I know right from wrong, you know, but I also am very experimental and very like curious. And so it was this interesting, like, I think I'm better for having that freedom and that space to figure things out on my own. But it terrifies me of giving my daughter that same space. So it's like this, like, oof, how do you navigate that? And I give my parents so much credit for just like being chill and trusting.
Totally.
I am the youngest of 3, so I think that has a lot to do with it. But
they're like by the time,
but like it's such a crazy thing. It's such a crazy world, and
I know. I feel like I'm gonna be so controlling.
But if you think about it, think about all the parents that are controlling, like their kids are the ones sneaking out and being like, you know, going nuts. So it's
like by the time they get to college, they're like binge drinking because they could never do that.
Like in my house, we had wine at dinner. Like even when I was young, you know, like it was very European in that sense, and we just had a lot of independence, and I think it was so cool. I really enjoyed that, and I want to be somewhere in between. I think I don't know if I'll be that cool, but I want to be. I want to be, but I
will be because your philosophy around life is that way, and I'm sure like as we get older, we'll just be softer.
It's I think it now just seeing a precious little baby, it's like this instinct of just wanting to protect, and it's supposed to be that way because they're so fragile. And they're so helpless.
Like they need you.
Exactly. So I think that as time goes on and as they get more independent, like that also evolves and shifts in us. And I think that it's like that for everything, right? It's like we're given this feeling because we need it. And that's the part about like the hormonal thing. It's so fascinating, you know? And like what I was saying before we, you know, it started is it's like we have this 9-month gestation period to get ready. And then we have like 3 months of like, you know, the 4th trimester to like just assimilate back, and like the baby's not moving very much. We're just sort of like, you know, easing into it. And then like they start growing up, and then life is just like, I don't know. It's just like, it goes so quickly and like all these different stages, but we're always ready for it. Whenever it happens, like we're always ready for that stage somehow.
Well, it's like your manifesting sessions, right? What you were saying about basically you're given what you can handle.
Yes. And it's all about how we open up to what's presented, because we don't really have control over the things that are presented, but we have complete control over how we respond and how we react and how we perceive it. And in any given situation, if we meet it with gratitude and openness and, you know, like possibility, then it can turn into something really amazing. But if we resist it, and then the lesson just keeps coming up in different forms, and then we're like constantly presented with it, and it gets worse and worse and worse.
It's a cycle.
And then, and we're stuck. Yeah. So it's a really amazing thing to be able to recognize like, oh, this is coming up and this is how I want to consciously respond.
Yeah, and it's empowering to know that you can shift something by changing your perspective on it.
It's the coolest thing I think ever. Yeah, I actually had a session with someone yesterday at the beach because if someone
in person?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I wish I would do one with you if you want.
Oh my
It'd
gosh,
be cool
I'd love
being
that.
pregnant. It'd be
Yeah.
awesome. Yeah, I only do it if, you know, if people around, you know, it's not very often, and I bring the crystals sometimes to the beach and during the session, and she asked why I brought the crystals. And I said, because the crystals hold an energy, you know, and it's like to infuse it with that energy. So the rose quartz is the energy of love, and the, you know, citrine energy of like happiness, prosperity.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, you know, what's so cool is that, you know, these crystals are fixed energy, and they're like a source of stable energy, but we are unfixed, and our energy is ever changing. And we have that malleability to be able to transform like our being. Like we can be, and it's so cool because you literally feel it with someone. Like someone could come in and be like in a really bad place, and you'll just feel this like dark cloud, right? Or someone will come in and they'll be like, whoa, like this girl is like, or this guy is like really like feeling good, and like just like a bright light around them. And how awesome is that, you know?
That as human beings, we can feel that. That's so, we were just looking at a meme, like cracking up, because there was this one meme that was like, when you're texting someone and you feel their bad vibes, like through the text.
You can totally, like, it's so true.
You know that someone's pissed at you.
It's so true. And like, and then you try to go back and be like, oh, it was just a lost in translation.
No.
You're like, no.
You like feel it.
And I've been guilty of that too. I've had bad vibes over text.
Totally.
Like when I'm pissed off, you know what I mean? But you definitely feel it. It doesn't change. It's all about the intention behind anything. Someone feels your intention.
Yeah.
You know?
It's so true. I think it's real. I mean, it's like, that's why aliens exist, basically. They have to.
Yeah, no, it's true.
Because like we're all energy.
It's so true. I know, it's really a trip when you think about that. But how cool is that? Like if we know that we can transform our energy, and you know that like we have this form that we're in that we can also transform by what we eat, by what we do, by who we see, the environment that we're in. So we can transform like our shape and our, you know, container.
Yeah.
More or less. Like to just be the best it can be.
Yeah.
And we can also totally transform the essence of ourselves and how we reach other people. And, you know, if we're talking about law of attraction, you know, if you want to be at that high frequency to attract that, you know, to pull in all the goodness and all the things that you want to be and you want to feel, it's like so cool to know that you can do that by consciously deciding to. And it's like an everyday situation type of thing. And it's interesting because, you know, I noticed that anytime like I've gotten in a fight with Brian, it's because either of us are coming from like a different energetic place, and it's like we're not on the same plane.
Not on the same level.
And once you can recognize that, it's like it's not about anything other than the energy being off, you know? And so it's like if you're coming from a stressful day and you come home and like your energy is a little off, like the other person's going to feel it. They're going to like respond to that. Their energy is going to be affected to that. So if you're aware of your own energy and you can like really harness it, you'll just vibe with everyone.
Totally.
You know?
We were recently doing a sound bath at the shop, and one thing, have you done a sound bath with Cassia before?
I haven't. No.
Well, she was with Farmer Dave, who does it with her sometimes, and he is just amazing if you ever get an experience doing a sound bath with them or experiencing one. But he was saying, basically, like the food you eat and the sound current you're in. So you can come home and listen to the same sound current or sing a tune to the same song, and then like your energies align.
Oh my God, that's so interesting. Like a couple, you mean?
Yeah. Anyone, like a friend, a couple, your employees. Like
that's so interesting.
And like that's why when you eat the same meal, like you're on the same level.
So true. I 100% feel that way.
Yeah.
It is really interesting. Wow.
Yeah.
And that's why a family, like when a family comes together for a meal,
it's
like the most sacred thing, you know, or just anyone coming together. But like when that's the ritual, when you come together and you're in the same space and there's like, you know, candlelight and maybe good music, and that experience puts everyone at an even playing field. It's so true.
Yeah. So it is interesting because when you notice that there's a shift in energy, but there's nothing wrong. It's just like you feel
you just feel it, and you're like, oftentimes like, why are we not? It's like, oh, because you just came from this world. I just came from this world.
Yeah.
And that's another thing with the manifesting sessions. It's like a lot of people, let's say someone's like having trouble, like attracting love, and being aware of your energy and what you put out, let's say on a date, you know, could be the difference between, you know, finding the right partner and not. Because sometimes like people can be, I find like a lot of women can be very picky, very judgmental. And even if they don't know whether they like the person or not, they're coming in with that attitude. Like, is this going to fit this, and this that's on my list or whatever? It's like, that just sends bad vibes to the other person. You know, like if someone feels like they're being evaluated or judged, like it just closes off openness and connection. But if you come in a blank slate and open and, you know, just wanting to have fun, no expectations, that energy just like creates magic and sparks, you know? And that's when the magic really does happen, when someone's like, is this going to be my husband? I'm going to go to this, you know, that's when it's like very intense and not, you know, the energy is not good.
Aw. Well, it was so fun hanging out with you.
So fun hanging with you. How are you feeling?
I'm great. I'm feeling really good. And I mean, it's hit me, but still not like fully.
So when's the due date?
August 5th.
Oh my God. Yeah. So is that
6
a Leo?
months, yeah. Could be a Cancer or a Leo. Yeah. We'll see.
And yeah, you never know, because Amelie's birthday was she was supposed to be a Cancer and she's a Gemini, so you never know.
Oh my gosh, when's her birthday?
Her birthday's June 21st, the summer solstice.
Oh my gosh, that's David's birthday.
It is?
Our art director.
No way.
It's the best.
Honestly, I think it's the best birthday of all time.
Ever.
It's really like this magical, very spiritual day.
Oh my gosh.
And then it's cool because the winter solstice is her half birthday. And so you never can forget her birthday. And it's always like a celebration and you always have to connect, you know.
That's
really
so
cool.
special.
I know, it is pretty cool. I think she has a good birthday too.
Yeah. And Geminis are awesome because I'm a Gemini.
Are you a Gemini? Oh my God, that is awesome. I think so. So far, so good.
Yeah.
I'm always so curious. I'm like, what are you going to be like? It's just so interesting to see her open up and like become a person. It's the coolest thing.
Just going to be curious.
Curious? What are Geminis like?
Curious and like two-faced. No, I'm kidding.
The twins.
Yeah. No, it's all good. I mean, that's the thing about all the different signs, and I'm super into astrology. I love it. But you just know when you're in alignment, like there's really no good or bad sign. It's all about
it's true. And working with what you got. Like working with what you...
Yeah, because there's good things about all of them.
Exactly. It's just when you're out of balance and those...
When they get intense and when things get in the way.
Yeah.
So it's fun to work with like the Ayurvedic methods and then bring in the astrology and bring in Chinese like medicine and like whatever Chinese astrology.
Like your blood type, all these things that like are your blueprint for alignment, like what the best thing is for you.
And we're so lucky to know all that.
Yeah.
And have access to all that. So.
It's so true. Yeah. We are really blessed to be able to like really, it's funny that we don't like, we're not born knowing that. We have to like research it and find it out and hire someone to tell us.
Yeah.
You know, you would think it'd just be like,
I know.
You know.
It probably is. We just like need to listen.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. Yeah, I wonder though. It's like if you crave meat, like in your blood type aligns and all that. You know.
Totally. Have you done your human design?
I haven't. What's that?
It's like another thing, and I just found out about it from Lacey Phillips.
Yeah.
And Dara Dubonnet also. I don't know if you know her, but she's like a raw food chef and super into feng shui.
Cool.
I think you guys would love each other. But they are both super into human design, and it's all about like, oh my gosh, you need to do it. You have to report back to me.
Tell me.
Because you can be like a generator, manifester. There's like 4 different things. What are the other ones?
I think I've heard of this.
It's like PIP.
Oh, yes. It's like a personality test that you do online. I think I've done it before with Brian. A manifester
you can get it for free online.
Yeah,
like
I think we did it online before. I can't remember what I was.
I'm like I don't know what I am, but Donald Trump is definitely a manifester.
Oh my God, that's right. Yeah. Ruining the name.
Yeah, seriously. It's so bad, but we always joke about how like
God.
Yeah.
Yeah. We live in a very weird world.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like a simulation of some crazy video game.
I know.
Do you believe that? Like it's a simulation? What
like
do you think?
The Matrix or something?
Yeah, like you know how Elon Musk thinks that this is like a video game?
Oh my God, no. He does not.
Yeah, he thinks this is all a simulation, that this is like...
For who?
Just like... It's like one version of a reality that's like a video
I could totally
game.
See that.
Sometimes I honestly feel like I'm in my own video game.
Yeah, well, like because all the different trajectories that you could have taken.
Exactly, and it's interesting. Like Brian believes that everything is sort of happening just on different planes. So it's like, you know, those really close calls. It's like when you could have like
Totally.
gotten in a car accident and you dodged it and you're like, how in the world? And it's like, in one reality, you got in a car crash. And then in this reality, you didn't, you know? And it's like all the different realities are playing out, but you just happen to be in this one.
So crazy.
It's a really crazy, like very mind trippy thing. But yeah, when you really go into it, there could be a million, you know, or just dreams when you go into the dream world and it's so real and you like revisit the same places in your dream. It's like, who's to say that's not, you know, just as valid in existence as this is?
Because your mind can't really tell the difference.
No.
Which is so crazy.
Yeah. And if we really can create our own reality, you know, it's like,
it's so crazy.
You know, it's pretty nuts. I know I want to start doing more research on dreaming and lucid dreaming because I feel like there's so many interesting things you can actually do in those hours.
Yeah.
Because when you have a great dream, there's like nothing like it, right? It's so awesome that you get to like just go into a whole different realm and have access to a whole different, you know.
It's like Inception.
Exactly. It's so cool.
Our next issue is on dreaming.
Really?
Yeah.
No
we
way.
can't decide what to call it yet, like visions or dreams or whatever, but that's kind of what we want to look like.
I love that.
Yeah. There's so much in there.
Yeah.
To explore.
Absolutely. There's so much.
So you'll have to do a lot of research.
Yes. No, I want to. How cool would it be to be a dream specialist? You know? That's actually like Carl Jung is, you know, very big on dreams. And he also had like one of the first art therapy,
like center?
Kind of like textbooks, like, no, like just more like, studies on art therapy and mandalas and all of that. But it's actually very related to like the unconscious, which is your dreaming world. So, and that's the other thing with art therapy is it taps into that place as well. Art making in general does.
We need to do an art therapy workshop. It'd be
honestly,
so fun.
It's so, I'm doing one on Valentine's Day.
Aww.
Yeah. At Loom, you know, Erica.
Yeah. I haven't been inside yet. It's so beautiful.
You should, it's so beautiful. You should come to that.
Yeah.
But yeah, we should do one too.
That'd be fun.
Yeah, it's really fun.
Let's plan on it.
Yeah, I would love that.
Well, thank you.
Thank you for having me. This is so nice. And thank you for the matcha.
Yeah, of course.